Hi, I'm Faizal Farook. I'm a research associate at Demos. Um,
Hi, I'm Jonathan Birdwell. I'm a researcher at Demos.
And you're here today at the IDA talking about trust and a particular project you're doing with about the state of trust for Demos. Tell me a little bit about the three sort of trust relationships that you've identified as part of the research.
well, there's three elements that we found that affects the public's relationship with their local government. So that was to do with personal interactions with staff and delivery agents, decision making, and service delivery itself.
And how do those relate to the people that actually have those relationships?
Right, so one of the things that emerged through our focus groups and one of the things we wanted to do was to move beyond traditional social marketing segmentation. And so one thing that we thought was quite helpful in terms of the three different types of trust, they're all necessary, but each one might be a little bit more important depending on a person's circumstances. So whether or not they're dependent or independent of the council, depending on the services they use, or whether they're more individual-minded or more community-minded. So taking these kind of two dispositions, we created a typology which includes the I haves and the I have nots, and the we haves and the we have nots. And to just talk a little bit about those individual groups, the I haves are your largest group. They're the traditional consumers. The service quality is more important for them. The I have nots, they're again also individually minded, but they're dependent on the council. So they use services such as housing and benefit, and they're quite in an asymmetric power relationship with the council. So service quality is important as well as personal interactions. Moving across to the we's, we have the we haves. These are your affluent activists. They're independent of the council, but they judge the council on the basis of how the council is making decisions for the wider community. And finally, the we have nots. These are your community activists, strong networks in the community. They're the community advocates. They lobby the council on behalf of their community in order to secure the things that they think they deserve and they're entitled to.
And those relationships differ depending on who the relationship is with the council. So whether it's with a call centre or a councillor, how does that work?
Right. So, well, the we's, they're more interested in the decision making to make sure that the decision making process is fair and transparent. The I's, as I said, they're more interested in service quality and personal interaction. So then if you take these kind of the three different types of trust and the typologies, and then consider the anatomy of a council, you begin to think that the frontline staff and call center staff, they're important in terms of the personal interactions, but the call center as well as services, because when you have a problem, when you contact the council, it's usually because you have a problem with the service. Middle managers and senior officers are responsible for the quality of services. And in terms of decision making, it's mainly senior officers. And so one thing that we're looking at is the role of counselors. What can counselors do? And there seems to be a reinforcing link between the personal trust and service trust, but there's no link between personal and decision making, because most people, although most people have experiences of services, but most people aren't involved in the kind of nitty-gritty decision-making procedure. So the idea is that counselors can play a role because they're quite well connected with their constituents, but also they have a foot in the council, so they know how decisions are being made, and they can then translate that to members of the public.
Great, and there's the project report or the interim report's out now. What stage are you at with that?
Right. Do you?
Yeah. Interim report is published. It's available on the Demos website, demos.co.uk. It's called A State of Trust. So that's the findings of the first year's worth of research. We're coming to the conclusion of the second year of research, looking at how the interim findings can then be put into practice in councils across the country, what strategies people have used, and what has worked and what hasn't, and why.